Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the BBL podcast. Today is a very exciting episode topic. I have posted quite a few videos on TikTok about my experience working in the luxury fashion industry with no fashion degree. And that gained a lot of traction, and a lot of people have messaged me. I even had some one-on-ones with some people that had very specific questions on how I did it, how I got there, because in 60 seconds or even in a 5-minute video, that short of a time for a video doesn't allow me to go in the depths of my story. And hopefully, by sharing my story, it inspires you that you too can manifest whatever job, whatever career that you want and see yourself in. But before we get started, there are two things that I want to point out. One is that just know there is no difference between you and I. So just know that if I could do it, so can you. And the second thing, and I say this as something for you to always keep in mind, if at any point of this episode there are points where you feel, oh, I want that thing, or oh, I wish I could do that, or oh, I want that opportunity, that happens to me, quite frankly, a lot of times. And that's just a signal to show you of what you want. What is it that your soul desires? And just know that whatever you desire desires you back. So keep that in mind for this episode and for anything else in life. If you ever have those feelings, just know that that is the universe signaling to you what your soul really wants. Let's begin. Primary school, I was very involved in my school community. I was in this thing called Young Ambassador. I was in the art club, I was in theater, and I was also the girl on the school announcements. I was the girl every morning on the loudspeaker saying the school's announcements. Then, when it came to middle school, I was still very involved in my school community. I transitioned into the dance club, auditioned for the talent show, and again, I was also the girl on the loudspeaker saying the morning announcements. Now, when high school came around, I knew that I had to be super laser focused on what my goal was. And my goal, at a very young age, I knew exactly what I wanted. Maybe not exactly, but I knew the direction that I was going towards. And at that time, when I was going into high school, I knew that these 4 years are essentially gonna predict the trajectory are going to predict the trajectory of my entire career, potentially. And I say that because when you apply to college, they look at what you did in high school. I had one goal in mind, which was I wanted to get into NYU. The reason why I wanted to get into NYU was because my dad had went there. And it was more of fulfilling this legacy, almost that feeling of like, my dad went there. I really want to go there. It's such a great school. High school, I was actually lucky enough to participate in a program at NYU. That was one of the things that I did in high school to help me get to my goal. The other things that I did was I was in this thing called leadership. I was also on the basketball team. I was senior class president. And again, my last hurrah, being on that loudspeaker, saying that morning announcements. And that was like the last time that I honestly was ever really behind a mic, I would say. In front of an audience, it's definitely been a while. The last time was high school. There definitely is a little bit of trauma that had occurred. I'll dive deeper into it right now of why I kind of stepped back a little bit and why now I'm coming back to this and coming back to myself, my core self of what I know I was always meant to do. High school was killing it in class. Senior year comes around. I applied to about 10 to 12 different schools. I applied to NYU and I got in. I got in, but I didn't go. I didn't go. And the reason why I didn't go was because when I got accepted, I found out that I got $0 in financial aid. $0. Something wasn't clicking. So, of course, uh, Miss Feisty 18-year-old me of like, I'm not going to let this be a factor of it interfering with my dreams and my goals. I went to NYU and I spoke to a financial aid counselor there. I explained to her the situation and I told her, I don't understand how I'm not getting any financial aid. At that time, my parents had just bought a house in New York. Now, if you know anything about cost of living in New York, it is super expensive. Yes, both my parents were working at that time, and yes, I'm an only child. But the reality is, my parents are middle class. They do not have $60,000 a year lying around to just pay for my college tuition. So when I spoke to the financial aid advisor, she had told me that NYU does not, I say this very clearly, does not give scholarships based off of merit, but only financial need. That was the moment that everything shifted for me. And I was like, this system is how does that make any sense? So somebody, their parents make less money than my parents, have the right to go for free, but I worked my ass off to get to this point? And not even that, the way that FAFSA calculates how much your parents can afford to pay for your tuition, the calculator is up. Because one, they don't put in consideration what state or city you're living in. Somebody who makes $100,000 in New York City does not have the same living if you're making $100,000 in Missouri. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it is. They don't consider if you have a mortgage payment. They don't consider any bills or any debt that you have to pay that you're paying a month. Because all of those things are major important factors. You can be making 100K, but you can only be coming back home with $100 in your pocket every week if you have certain things that you need to pay, a car, a student loan debt, whatever that is. So at 18 years old, I was like, what the f? But I was also very bright in the sense that I had to reflect deeply within myself about this decision, whether I'm going to NYU or whether I'm not. I'm sure that there are many others who have been or who will be in my situation. And I want to share my thinking process as to why I made the decision. And it's honestly the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. If there's one decision in my entire 25 years of living that I've made that was 100% correct this day, is that I declined going to NYU and I chose to go to a city university instead. All of my childhood and majority of my teen years, I saw my parents paying back student loan debt. So yes, my dad went to NYU. He has a great job. He's been working with the same job since he graduated from NYU. But there was a lot of things that my parents couldn't say yes to because they had that student loan debt. They couldn't buy the house because they had student loan debt that they had to pay. My parents got lucky because they were living in New York City with rent control, but the amount that they were paying for my dad's student loan was almost the same amount as the rent that they were paying. It was actually insane. Insane. So there was a lot of things my parents had to say no to. And at a young age, I knew there was something wrong in this system and that I had to find the crack and the solution to not repeat the same pattern. And that's exactly what I did. I realized 60K a year, times that by 4, add some interest. I'm going to be graduating with an undergrad degree with $500,000 in debt. Make that make sense. Please make that make sense because that doesn't make sense to me. And then you ask yourself the question, what is the minimum starting salary that you will receive after you graduate? Okay, New York City, we're talking about 55, 50, like 55, I would say is a good one. 55. I don't want to be starting post-college life, paying my entire life back to the system, and I can't even start my life. I can't start saving money to buy a house. I can't get a car. I have to, like, it just, I was like, no, no. And especially my undergraduate degree, I had an idea what I wanted to do, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And now, at 25 years old, graduated 3 years ago in the midst of the pandemic, I am so happy that I didn't go to NYU because I never used my degree, not one day in my life. Not one day after I graduated have I used my degree. Not one day. Not one single day. because I didn't go in the criminal justice route. I graduated in international criminal justice, and I never did anything in the international or not even national or local criminal, nothing. I worked in luxury fashion. That's like a complete 180. I didn't study fashion. I had no fashion internship, but I somehow got my way into that door. And I didn't go to a private school. I went to New York City public schools my entire life. I think that's important to note out because something that you will notice in my educational career, my professional career, is that I never let a system define where I can go. So just because I went to a New York City public school didn't mean that I was not going to be able to get into a prestigious private college. That's just something for you to know, that don't feel like you need this and no, it's whatever you make of yourself and whatever you believe is possible for you, it will manifest. Now, diving a little deeper into my professional career, because that seems to be the very hot topic, and lots of you want to know how I did it, any tips, any advice. So, we're at college. I'm studying international criminal justice at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in Manhattan. I had gotten an internship working at a law firm. I enjoyed it, but I realized it wasn't really for me because I was doing cybersecurity stuff. And somehow, are you sitting down for this? I'm going to give you a nice visual image of how this day went. We're at April of 2019. I'm at JFK Airport with my two best friends going to spring break, ready to hop on a flight straight to Santo Domingo. And I receive a message off of LinkedIn from a recruiter who works for Chanel. And she was like, I saw your LinkedIn profile. We found it very impressive. And we would like to know if you would consider interviewing for the asset and protection team. Mind you, I had to literally look up what asset and protection means because I had no idea what it means, what it does. Second, I was like, who is this lady? I'm definitely getting catfished here because why is she picking me? Like, who am I? I don't study anything related to fashion. I don't go to any of these prestigious schools. Why is she contacting me? And I remember at that time, my best friend looked at me. She was like, dude, do you know how like insane that is? And I'm like I was like still processing if this is real or not. And she was like, answer like her now. If you don't answer her, I will. So I answered her before getting on my flight and I said, yes, of course, that would sound amazing. Please let me know what time and day works best for you. So we set up an interview and I get the position to intern as an asset protection intern with Chanel in summer of 2019. Basically, the best way to describe what I was doing was I was a fashion police investigator. One of the rules with Chanel was, let's say there's a burglar or a thief in the store and they rob one of the bags. If they are still in the store and they're carrying that bag, we cannot arrest them. We cannot push them to the ground. We can't do absolutely anything if they're still in the store because one, they still have the opportunity to buy, and two, it doesn't align with our brand values. Yeah. So basically, once they step foot out of that door, that's when I come in. And that's where I'm looking at the CCTV cameras. I'm working with the NYPD. I'm working with the DA's office, and we're creating a whole case. We're also getting in touch with all the other asset protection teams that are from the other luxury stores that are on the same block, because usually these groups will hit us, but they'll hit the others as well. They'll hit Louis Vuitton down the block, they'll hit Fendi, they'll hit them all. So we actually work together with these other luxury brands when it comes to this side of the business, because if our business is hurt, essentially it's going to also trickle down and hurt their business as well. So that's just like a quick summary of what I was doing. I was investing a lot of external theft, but also internal theft. That's where the crazy stories begin. And oh God, the stories I can tell about that. We'll save them for another time. One of the other things that the asset protection team does was when it comes to their employee sales, which is about 3 times a year, the asset and protection team is involved to make sure that all of what their assets are protected by internal employees, so just managing theft and reconciliation and all that stuff. I worked two of the employee sales. Oof, the sales were insane. It was literally the Black Friday of Chanel having 80 to 90% off Chanel bags, ready to wear shoes, accessories. It was Chanel heaven. Of course, there was limits, like you can't buy 5 shoes, you can't buy 4 bags. But what people would do they would literally camp out on the line wanting to be the first ones, because the people who go in first, they'll just like snag 5 bags and they'll keep it until the very end of the time, because they will then probably send pictures to their loved ones or whoever if it's not for them, and they're like deciding which bag to buy. And then at the end, they'll have to keep one, but then they'll return the rest of the 4 on the table. So it was a whole thing. But the person who was in charge of that event, the fashion ops team, the manager had reached out to me and she said, I really like your work ethic. I really appreciate all that you're doing with us, because I was also working these events for free. So when it comes to these employee sales, a lot of times we would stay until like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, many of the days, because it was about a 5-day thing, but also there was a lot of like cleanup at the end, reorganizing, putting things in storage. I was an intern, so I was only getting paid until 5 o'clock. Anything after 5 o'clock, that's volunteer work. But for me, I was like, I don't care if it's volunteer work or if I get paid for it. Like, this is an opportunity and I'm going to take advantage of it. And I know that this will somehow benefit me in some way, whether I learn something, whether I connect with somebody, whatever it is, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity, because no other intern was there. And the manager really saw my work ethic. She really liked me and she asked me what my plans were after my internship. And I told her I'm still studying full time, but open for something part time. She was like, "Great. Would you be open being our fashion operations assistant?" I was like, "Hell yeah." I was working with them from August of 2019 up until March of 2020, because you know what came? The pandemic came and I lost my job. And I was still in the middle of my degree. I did not end up changing my degree. I was like, I'm halfway in this, I'm gonna finish it. And I did. When graduation was coming around, there was lots of fear and lots of anxiety of like, what the hell I'm gonna do. And a lot of that fear also came from my parents, because they were like, what are you gonna do? Like, you have to find a job, blah, blah, blah. And they were like pushing me to do my master's. And I was like, listen, guys, I have no brain cells for doing a master's right now. I need to find out exactly what it is that I want to do. And then I will invest my money into a degree, because I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not going to be paying $500,000 for a degree that I may not use. So I got to be pretty sure if that's what I want. And so I did. After I graduated, I felt super called to go to Dubai. I don't know what it was. It was just like something. It was like, you need to go to Dubai. So I graduated. I did my post-grad trip in Dubai. I fell in love with Dubai. I found myself in Dubai. Dubai, Dubai, Dubai. I was convinced I was gonna live in Dubai, to the point that I was applying for jobs in Dubai. And what? I got accepted to work at Chanel in Dubai. However, the pay that they were going to pay me was insanely low, that I was actually going to have to be using my savings to live in Dubai. And I was like, this ain't adding up. Again, I'm very logical when it comes to finances and money. I was like, I'm gonna trip myself out there thinking I'm going to Dubai to live my best life, but then my pockets are really hurting. No, that makes no sense. My ass is gonna stay in New York City, live for free with my parents, and I'm gonna make that USD money, you know? And that's exactly what I did. It took me a while to find a job, I'm not gonna lie, because post grad, I was so focused on finding a job in Dubai. I got it and I declined the offer. So then I shifted my gear and I was like, we're focusing back in New York City. And from about, I want to say November of 2021 until February of 2022, I was searching for a job in New York City and I get a LinkedIn message. Little behold, who is this person? It's a recruiter and it's from Christian Dior this time. He said that he saw my profile. He thought that I would be a good candidate for this position that he's offering for a luxury fashion house. He didn't tell me who it was at first. So I was like, yeah, of course. Like, let's get on a call. Let's talk about it. And on the call, he was like, yeah, so the fashion house is Christian Dior. Have you heard of it? And I'm like, sir, who has not heard of it? Like, what? I was like, is this real life right now? I did the interview and I ended up getting the job. So I worked for Christian Dior, and while I was working for Christian Dior, I was doing lots of like product marketing to clients, and I realized I really like this marketing world. I really like the social media world. I was starting out on social media. I was doing lots of like fashion content, but realized that that's not really what is for me. But I like marketing, and I was like, how am I going to shift into a position that has to do with marketing? You know, I studied nothing related to marketing, nothing related to business, nothing related to fashion, but I was convinced that I was going to do it because I was like, if I was able to get my ass from international criminal justice to luxury fashion house, I'm going to be able to get it to marketing and media. So I found a digital marketing certificate that I did for 6 months. This is to show you like what kind of hustler I am. And this is like the New Yorker in me. I was working at Christian Dior full time, 9 to 5. And then I was doing this 6 month digital marketing certificate exactly the entire time that I was working for Christian Dior from 5:30 to 9 o'clock every single day. I was quite literally at the end really tired, but I knew that this was a sacrifice that I had to make for a little bit so that I can have long-term satisfaction. I was working from Christian Dior from March of 2022 to July of 2022. And the reason why I had left Christian Dior was not because I wanted to leave, but was because I was getting engaged and I was doing my engagement party in Tunisia and I had to go for a month. Like, there was absolutely no way that I could go for less. I was already planning this whole thing from a whole different continent. I needed to be there for a month, and they could not give me that 1 month vacation. And I told them it could be unpaid, but they were like, that's not in the employee handbook. We can't give you unpaid vacation time. But if you want, you can quit and then apply it back again. I didn't apply back again. I was like, okay, this is my sign from the universe that I now need to use that digital marketing certificate that I just received, and I'm going to apply that. So I went to Tunisia, did my engagement, and coming back, I was like, we need to find a job. So it was from like August, September, October. I'm like heavy core looking for a job, LinkedIn as usual, in media and marketing. And this guy I went to high school with reached out to me. I never even had a conversation with him, to be honest, like in real life. I just was connected with him on LinkedIn and he messaged me and he was like, hey, saw your post because I posted that I'm looking for a job in marketing and media. If any of my network can put me in contact with somebody or a job post, please let me know. So he reaches out to me and he said, hey, like I work for this company called Havas Media. If you want, I can give you a referral. And I was like, "Ooh, referral. Okay, this is the first time I'm going the referral route, but yeah, like why not?" He puts in the referral in like September. I didn't hear back up until I want to say October. So I waited a little while and then the HR contacted me and we went ahead and proceeded with the interview and I got the job. And I was working for a media agency in New York City for 8 months, because then in July of 2023, I had to resign since I was getting married and I was moving to a whole different country. And that's where we end up sort of here. When I was working at Havas, it's a great company, don't get me wrong. Oof, we were going out like almost every other day. I'm not even kidding. It was a hybrid schedule, but every day that I would go into the office, there was always something. Okay? When I'm talking about something, I mean there was always free food, free lunch, there was always some type of a lunch outing, there was a happy hour. There was just a lot. Really, honestly, a lot for a work environment, for me at least. That was something that I was like, not liking this work environment in that sense. Love the free lunches though. They can keep them coming because they save me some money in my pocket. But the reason why I was truly, genuinely unhappy at this place was because I found myself working in marketing and media, but my role was not creative at all. So I felt very disconnected to what I was doing. There was lots of numbers. I was more on the finance end of it. It just wasn't what I was expecting. So I realized like if I want to be creative, if this is what I want, I just got to do this myself, you know? Once I resigned, I realized all of this time I've been trying to do this and figure out this, and I'm learning this, and I'm gaining this knowledge and gaining this experience. What is it that I really want? What is it that I want to work and do for my life? And the reality is, being a creative, I am creative and I need to showcase my creativity. I need to be behind the mic because not only do I find comfort being behind the mic, but I find myself. I truly find myself. So I got married and I realized we got to do this myself. I can't keep waiting for this perfect creative job that's going to come up because at the end of the day, I know what I really want. And I want to be a creator, I want to be a creative, and I want to be a podcaster. I want to be doing this. And that is the only way I'm going to find true fulfillment and happiness is by pursuing what I genuinely love. I did my fair share of 9 to 5. I did the corporate life. We need 9 to 5s. We need the corporate people in this world in order for this world to keep surviving and thriving. But I'm not meant for it. I know that I want to have financial freedom, meaning that I don't want a certain limit of how much money I can make. I want freedom of time. If I need to go travel or if I need to go visit family, I can do that. If one day, hopefully, I'll have children, I'm able to balance my life and my work. I was looking for freedom of time, freedom of money, and freedom of expression. That is the most important one. Freedom of being me, showing up as my authentic self. And there's no place that I would rather be than be right here with you and talking to you and connecting with you. This is a pretty in-depth story of what I did and where I am and how I got there, but it's important to share the depths of it because if it wasn't for that little girl in elementary school seeing her parents pay student loan debt, she probably wouldn't have made the same decision when she was 18 years old coming down to have to actually make the decision. You know, every single moment and every single event in my life, every single thing I have done, it all adds up to where I am now. You know, I really did not know what I was going to be doing. I think deep down inside of me, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And that's a big thing with a lot of us. But the education system, society, our family, our friends, everyone puts their own opinion, their own beliefs, which is completely normal. But then it starts to shape your own ideas, beliefs, and perspectives about life and about yourself. Once you start changing perspective about yourself, once your beliefs start changing and they're no longer yours, you can no longer hear yourself. You no longer hear that inner voice in you that's telling you what you want because you're following what you should want, what you should do, what society says is best to do. And you follow that path. And that's completely normal because the whole education system, what it teaches us is to follow a certain path. It doesn't teach us to be entrepreneurs and creators or artists or any of that. No, makes you ready to partake in a 9 to 5 job. Again, nothing against it. But if you are like me, where you know that the 9 to 5 job isn't really made for you, it's not what you're called to do, and that your soul has a different calling in this world, sit down with it, listen to it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be easy, but it's step by step. You don't have to have it all figured out right away. No one has it all figured out right away. We're humans at the end of the day, and we're going to learn from our mistakes. We're going to fall, we're going to fail, we're going to attempt, we're going to pick up, we're going to try again, and we're going to continue to try again until we manifest it, until we make it happen. Nothing is an overnight success. Quite honestly, I don't think anything is an overnight success. House is not just built overnight, it's brick by brick. That's why I say we take it one step at a time. If you're in this position where you are working a corporate job and you want to make a career change and shift into another position, start thinking, what are the credentials that I need to get this position? Who do I need to network with? What do I need to know for this job? Start getting yourself prepared so that when the opportunity arises and it comes to you, you're ready. A lot of times people wait for the opportunity to just come land on their doorstep. And that's not how it works. You need to take inspired, aligned action, and the universe, God, whatever you believe in, will co create with you. And in the right divine timing, it will show up for you right there as an opportunity when you're ready, when it's the right time. Now, I know I didn't really give tangible, actionable, step by step tutorial process about how to tweak your LinkedIn so that you can get the right job and all of that stuff. But I don't know if that's something you guys actually want or care for. If that is, shoot me a DM. Please let me know because the more of you guys that reach out to me asking and requesting for a certain material, that's when I know, okay, people want to hear it. So let me make the content for them. That's how I showed up here today. I was getting lots of traction on TikTok and I realized this needs to be put up as a podcast episode. So if there are other materials, there's other specific questions you might have, please feel free to shoot me a DM. I read all the messages. A reminder again that this show is for you more than it is for me because I show up here for you and I'm here to serve you and whatever questions and topics that you guys want to talk about and hear about. I'm so excited to hear back from you guys, hear about what you thought about the podcast. If you haven't rated the podcast yet, I kindly ask you to please go rate the podcast. It really helps the podcast to continue to grow and run. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any weekly podcast episodes. A final reminder that you are in complete control of your destiny and you can manifest whatever the life is that you want. I'm a pure example of it. We are the same. So if I can, so can you. That's a wrap. I love you guys. And until the next podcast episode, mwah, bye.